They told you discipline was everything. Wake up early, grind through pain, stick to routines, no matter how you feel. That's how you win, right? You believed it. So you built the perfect system. Every morning locked in, every task accounted for, no emotions, no excuses, just execution. You called it strength. You called it discipline. But Machiavelli would call it something else. Obedience. Not to your purpose, not to your mission, but to a system that was never designed for your rise. Only your reliability. Because here's the truth, no one wants to say out loud, discipline makes you predictable. And in a world that rewards the unpredictable, the adaptive, the strategically ruthless, predictability is death. Discipline doesn't make you dangerous. It makes you easy to track, easy to manage, easy to control. It's not power, it's a leash. And if you want to be feared, if you want to be untouchable, if you want to move through this world like a shadow no one can pin down, Machiavelli would tell you one thing: stop being disciplined. Start being strategic. Discipline only becomes a virtue when you control the game, but most people don't. They're disciplined inside a system they never built. They wake up at 5 a.m., not because it gives them an edge, but because some book said, that's what successful people do. They grind on work they secretly hate, not because it leads to power, but because quitting makes them feel like they're failing. They follow routines like rituals, worshipping the habit even after the outcome disappears. And Machiavelli, he'd laugh. Because to him, blind consistency isn't noble, it's weakness. Finishing a path that goes nowhere isn't strength, it's self-betrayal. Clinging to a plan that no longer works doesn't make you disciplined, it makes you trapped, not in chains, in something far more seductive, self-improvement that leads nowhere. That's not progress, that's slavery, dressed up to look like growth. Now picture a different kind of mind, not orderly, not obedient, dangerous. This mind doesn't worship discipline. It uses it like a blade, sharp when needed, gone when it dulls. It doesn't wake up at 5 a.m. because some guru preaches morning supremacy. It wakes when it's strategic, sleeps when recovery sharpens the next move, strikes when speed creates an edge, goes still when silence builds power. This mind doesn't fear breaking routine. It breaks routine on purpose, because the second a pattern becomes predictable, it becomes a liability. Predictability is how enemies find you, how competition catches up, how systems lock you down, and if your discipline becomes your identity, they already know your next move. Your power is gone the moment they can map your rhythm, because what was once your strength is now your signal, your pattern, your weakness. The dangerous man, he's not rigid, he's precise. He doesn't chase consistency, he chases control of time, of emotion, of outcome. While others cling to their routine like a safety net, he moves through chaos like it's home. Mid-battle, he pivots, no hesitation, no guilt, because he's not here to follow a code, he's here to win. That's why Machiavelli drew the line. Discipline, that's for soldiers, trained to follow. Strategy, that's for rulers, born to command. Let's go deeper, because this is how discipline kills power, silently, not with a crash, but with a slow fade you barely notice. First, discipline teaches obedience, not awareness. You stop asking the only question that matters: is this still worth it? You just keep going, blind, faithful, grinding your way into irrelevance. Persistence in the wrong direction isn't noble, it's failure in slow motion. Second, discipline rewards endurance, not intelligence. Anyone can suffer, anyone can hustle, but only a few can stop, pivot, and say, this no longer works, let's rebuild. The powerful don't just move, They know exactly where to move. Third discipline dulls instinct. You stop trusting your gut. You override the voice inside that says, something's off. You keep pushing when you should have paused and missed the signal that would have made you lethal. Machiavelli's most dangerous followers. They don't follow habits, they follow outcomes. Every decision runs through one filter. Did this move bring me closer to power, leverage, or control? If not, they drop it instantly, no matter how noble it felt, no matter how long they've done it, no matter how disciplined it made them look, because they don't worship effort. They worship effectiveness, because the illusion of virtue is the most seductive trap. And discipline, it's the perfect illusion. It feels like growth, even when it's keeping you small. Look around. The world is full of men who journal daily, wake at dawn, eat clean, grind hard. They do everything right. They're invisible, replaceable, obedient. Not because they're weak by nature, but because they were trained that way. And that's the point. The disciplined man is perfect for control. He doesn't question, he doesn't rebel, he's predictable, reliable, measurable. Machiavelli would call him the ideal servant. Now contrast that with the man no one sees coming. He doesn't live in patterns, he lives in momentum. He watches for windows, he vanishes, then reappears. He abandons plans without apology. He is unpredictable, and therefore uncontrollable. That's the Machiavellian reversal. Discipline earns respect. Strategy earns fear. And in the game of dominance, fear beats respect. Every time. So if you're forcing yourself through routines, grinding without gain, waking up early just to feel like you're still on track, if you're clinging to discipline because it makes you feel in control, you've already lost. Because this game, it's not won by the one who suffers the longest. It's not won by the most consistent. It's won by the one who adapts the fastest. Discipline doesn't make you dangerous. Control does. And real control, it doesn't come from more effort. It comes from flexibility, weaponized by strategy. Let's get tactical. 1. The morning routine trap. Wake up early, meditate, cold shower, read, gym, green smoothie. You feel like a machine, dialed in, disciplined, focused, but stop. Were you thinking or just following? Machiavelli wouldn't ask, did you complete the ritual? He'd ask, did any of that move you closer to power today? If the answer is no, skip it. Skip the gym. To make the call that shifts your income, skip the journal. To study the person across the table, sleep in. If your clarity at 2 p.m. will win the room more than your pride at 6 a.m. because you're not here to check boxes. You're not here to impress your calendar. You're here to win. 2. The streak addiction. I haven't missed a day in 100 days. Sounds impressive, feels powerful, but it isn't. That's not discipline. That's emotional blackmail. By yourself, against yourself. You're not chasing results. You're protecting a streak. And Machiavelli? He'd break the streak without hesitation if it no longer produced leverage. Discipline says, I've come too far to stop. Strategy says, if stopping gives me an edge, I stop instantly. No guilt, no apology. Because in this game, consistency means nothing without advantage. 3. The finish what you started. Lie they told you, never quit. See it through. Finish what you started. But Machiavelli didn't finish broken plans. He replaced them. He didn't stay loyal to failure. He adapted the second a better opportunity appeared. He didn't move for virtue. He moved for victory. That's the difference. The disciplined man. He keeps pushing a broken cart uphill because he started it. The strategic man, he switches carts. changes direction, and passes the disciplined man without effort. Because power doesn't reward the one who finishes everything. It rewards the one who finishes the right things. This is where the Machiavellian mind completely separates from the obedient one. He doesn't follow structure. He weaponizes it. He builds systems that serve one purpose: leverage, not comfort, not identity, not validation. And when those systems stop working, he drops them, without guilt, without hesitation, because no one can track a pattern that keeps changing. Discipline isn't evil, but unquestioned discipline, that's mind control, especially when the person doing the controlling is you. You're not trapped by a system. You're trapped by the story you told yourself about never breaking it. So ask yourself, are you being consistent because it's working, or just because it's what you've always done? Are you following discipline to move forward, or just to feel safe inside the illusion of control? Because if your identity is built on, "I never skip a day," you've already built your own cage. And Machiavelli, he wouldn't admire that. He'd look you in the eyes and say, without blinking, "You're predictable, you're vulnerable, you're mine." The truly dangerous man, he isn't defined by his habits. He's defined by his ability to burn them down. He's disciplined only when it gives him power, and he embraces chaos when chaos gives him the edge. He's not reckless. He's not unstable. He's unreadable because he's trained himself to disobey even his own rhythm, not out of impulse, out of intention. He refuses to be decoded because once you're predictable, you're already controlled. So what should you do now? You don't need to throw away your habits, but you do need to cut the leash between habit and identity. Start asking yourself, every single day, does this routine still produce real results? Am I doing this because it works, or because it feels familiar? If I had to destroy it today, could I rebuild something stronger tomorrow? Because if the answer is no, you're not flexible, you're not dangerous, you're just disciplined. And here's the truth. The world doesn't fear discipline. It fears strategy. Machiavelli's greatest warning. Never mistake discipline for dominance. And his greatest insight. The man who rewrites the rules, especially his own, is the only one who becomes unstoppable. So don't be proud of how long you've stayed consistent. Be feared for how fast you can shift, adapt, and win. That's not discipline, that's power. And if they ask how you did it, don't explain, don't preach, just disappear before they can predict your next move. Because while they're still measuring discipline, you'll be measuring control. And by then, you'll already be gone. To truly understand how to master these profound principles of power and influence in any situation, delve into Machiavelli's timeless and groundbreaking work, The Prince. Find the link to acquire your copy in the description below. If you see me again, well, congratulations. It means you're starting to think differently. It means you're paying attention. And if that's the case, you already know what to do next. Because in a world full of manipulation, silence, and strategy, you don't follow the noise. You follow the power.